All right, the articles of impeachment have been filed, and here they are. Abuse of power. The president using the powers of his office for personal gain, ignoring the national interest, which is based on your opinion. If you believe the president didn't want to know anything except Joe Biden, didn't care about where our $8 billion went, didn't care about the obstruction or the throwing of the election in 2016 and the actual collusion with the Democratic Party. If you think that was all personal, if you think that he was only going after Joe Biden because he was a candidate and it had nothing to do with making sure that the vice president wasn't enriching his family at our expense, go ahead, try to prove that. I don't know how you're going to, but try to prove that. Pat Gray joins us along with Stu Bergier, our executive producer. The second one is obstruction of Congress, not obstruction of justice, but obstruction of Congress. This one is truly laughable because the president can obstruct Congress. They're an equal branch. An equal and separate branch. So the Congress cannot tell the president what to do, and the president cannot tell Congress what to do. They can try, and they've tried over and over again for the last 200 plus years. But the Supreme Court has decided over and over and over again, it is absolutely the president's right to not allow people to testify or turn over records.
David French wrote about this, and he's exactly what you outlined. Both parties have asserted this immunity for generations. Listen to this. For nearly a half century, the Office of Legal Counsel of the Department of Justice has consistently opined that, quote, the president and his immediate advisors are absolutely immune from testimonial compulsion by a congressional committee on matters related to their official duties. OLC has reaffirmed this position more than a dozen times over the course of the last 9 administrations of both political parties. William Rehnquist, when he was Assistant Attorney General, did this in 1971. He said, the president and his immediate advisors, that is, those who customarily meet with the president on a regular or frequent basis, should be deemed absolutely immune from testimonial compulsion by a congressional committee. They may not be examined with respect to their official duties, but they may not even be compelled to appear before a congressional committee. Jeez. This opinion was reaffirmed by the Clinton administration in 1996 and by the Obama administration in 2014. As the Obama DOJ explained, this asserted immunity is rooted in the constitutional separation of powers and in the immunity of the president himself from congressional compulsion to testify. Since the president is the head of one of the independent branches of the federal government, if Congress could force the president or one of his immediate advisors to testify, then the president's independence and autonomy from Congress would be threatened. And that is as open and shut a case as you can possibly imagine. There is no grounds to impeach the president on obstruction of Congress. Mm-hmm. It's their job to do an investigation if they want to do one. But they can't force people associated closely with the president to come and testify. That's just not how it works. If you want to do that, you can go to the Supreme Court and you can have them rule on it and individual cases. Is this outside of their everyday duties? There's some ways you can get around those things, but the court has to rule on them. Several of these witnesses that have been called have asked the court to rule on it, and the Democratic Congress said, no, that's going to take too much time. We got to get it on Christmas break or whatever their argument is. It is an open and shut case on that one. It's an embarrassment, and it shows how weak their hand is that they would even try that as one of these articles of impeachment.
So I talked to Ted Cruz. You can hear him on the podcast later today, but I talked to Ted Cruz about an hour ago, and he said, we are absolutely going to take this up, and we have questions. Now, there are 3 senators that are starting to put together a probe and a witness list. And the first 2 on their witness list, Chalupa, the woman who was I think, the head of the DNC collusion with the Ukrainians, and Andrei Teleshenko, who worked first for the prosecutor's office, then was transferred and worked for the embassy here in the United States for the Ukrainians and has details. We've talked to him on the program. He has details and names and times and places of what Democrats were there and what they were doing with Chalupa and what was happening. on this collusion to throw our 2016 election and throw Donald Trump under the bus. Now, if the Democrats get their way and the Republicans do not truly open up everything and they don't investigate the whistleblower, the collusion with the Democrats, if we don't uncover all of this and come with an answer, a satisfying answer, the Republic is deeply, deeply hurt. Now, I want to, they like to talk about the Constitution and their constitutional duty here in Congress right now. But what does the Constitution say? That there are 3 jobs in the preamble. What are the 3 jobs, Pat, of the government?
Common defense.
Provide for the common defense. Promote
the general welfare.
And
secure.
No.
I'm mixing up the Declaration with the preamble.
Promote the general welfare. Provide for the common defense.
Mm-hmm.
Promote
Welfare.
the general welfare. And, now I forgot it. Promote domestic tranquility. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Providing for the common defense.
So hard to remember tranquility because we haven't seen it in so long.
Time. Are they providing for the common defense? Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think some of the things like Civil Society 2.0 and the State Department is hurting that, but they are providing for common defense. Okay, we have the Air Force and the Navy and everything else. Are they promoting the general welfare?
No,
I don't think so either. Look at what the headlines are in the UK. Nationalized healthcare is falling apart. The big story is the kid that was sleeping on a pillow out in a hallway because there were no beds in the hospital for him. It's completely falling apart over there. So, promoting the general welfare, no, and promoting domestic tranquility.
We all know that's the exact opposite.
The exact opposite. I'm going to put everybody in that boat. I'll put everybody in that boat, knowing that some are not, shouldn't be in that boat. But let's all look at our own parties and say, are you promoting domestic tranquility? Now, how do you do that? You do that by, pretty much doing the opposite of what everything in Washington is happening right now and in the media. And that is look for truth. Domestic tranquility is all screwed up when you don't know what the truth is anymore. When there is no absolute truth, when there is no arbiter of truth and justice and fairness, when it is all in question, there is no domestic tranquility. Now, I want to take you not just to what has happened and these 2 unbelievable charges that anybody in the media who is telling you, well, these are pretty serious charges, they're lying to you. They are absolutely lying to you. They are disappointed to the core because there's nothing to these charges. Now, let's go over the IG report that also came out yesterday. So the IG report came out and said that the Russia investigation began as justified and unbiased. But then something happened along the way. Steele, the DNC, FISA, the FBI all went off the rails. And they put this 500-page report out. And they said that there are 17 inaccuracies or errors that were made. And when you hear some of these errors or inaccuracy, remember, we're talking about going to a FISA court. This is a secret court. This is so anti-constitutional, it's sickening. But this is a secret court. And the FBI went, this should have the highest standard for any kind of warrant. So they go to this secret court, and they go and they say, we have to know this stuff because this presidential candidate looks like he's doing some really bad things. Okay, but let's remember we're dealing with the possible president of the United States. We're asking the courts and the FBI to get involved in an election. I am totally fine with somebody getting involved, the FBI, and vetting. If Donald Trump would have been in bed with Russia, it would have been really bad, and he should have been impeached if that were the case. And I like the fact that the FBI will look into these people. However, their omissions or their inaccuracies all amount to the FBI lying to the court. And some of them are really, really bad. For instance, they omitted information the FBI had obtained from another U.S. government agency detailing its prior relationship with Carter Page, including that Page had been approved as an operational contact for another agency from 2008 to 2013, and that Page had provided information to the other agency concerning his prior contacts with certain Russian intelligence officers, one of which overlapped with the facts asserted in the FISA application. So in other words, the FBI came to the court and said, hey, we got this guy. He's talking to Russian agents, and he's working for Donald Trump. And we just really need to wiretap. Okay, well, are you sure the guy's not working for us or any other agency? No, not working for any other agency. Well, that's not true. Are you sure he hasn't said anything about working with these people for us? Has he ever reported any of that? No, he hasn't done that. Well, they knew that he did. Now, is that just an inaccuracy or is that a lie?